Yeah, hello and welcome back to Fireplace Chat. Supermicro is one of the top 5 largest server vendors in the world with 3.5 billion US dollar revenue in 2019. But more important, Supermicro is actually one of our most loyal partners, standing with us with CloudFest and previously World Hosting Days since the very beginning. I have a very special guest from Supermicro here with me right now, which I would like to introduce to you. Please welcome Sim, the General Manager of Solutions Enablement at Supermicro.
Thank you, Soeren. That was a very warm introduction, very generous. But like I said, we love coming to World Hosting Days, and now it is CloudFest. But honestly, it's a #1 show. We always look forward to joining that show and engaging with our partners, and more importantly, kind of kicking up technical challenges, understanding, and kind of proposing solutions to that. So once again, you guys do a fabulous job putting a great show.
Thanks a lot, Sim. And I'm very convinced that by next year, 2022, we will have a chance to have a physical beer together at Colosseo Bar again. So GM, Solutions Enablement, that's a very fancy title. So tell us a little bit what your role is in Supermicro.
It is a fancy title, but I will kind of give you a couple of different things that I do here. One is, more importantly, the primary role is to talk to the service providers, large enterprise customers, try to understand their requirements and match up with the right infrastructure layer so that they can go out and meet the business needs of their customers. So that is a huge part of my working day, understanding the customer's requirements, concerns, and try to kind of put together solutions and kind of meet their SLAs. The other part is I evangelize a lot about Supermicro as well as the industry. So I talk to a lot of experts in the field. We kind of hobnob on the trends that keeps me current on the things that are coming up. More importantly, as you know, it's a very dynamic environment. Today, if you were to ask any of the service providers or any of the enterprise customers and ask them like what they see 6 months down the road, oftentimes it is a blank stare, because that's the nature of the business we are in. Things are moving at the speed of the light. The applications are getting more demanding. And how do you provide the base infrastructure that can scale to the moving target? Unfortunately, the target is moving. And when you put in the infrastructure, that is a heavy lift, right? And oftentimes, it's not like, tomorrow something changed and you bring in a forklift and change it out, because you're putting a lot of investment, both from a human capital perspective, as well as from the, the OpEx and CapEx perspective. So that is where the challenge is, trying to find out the right balance of an infrastructure, which is resilient, which can scale up, scale out, and more importantly, meet the cost criteria, because we are all working on this cost effective mode, and that is important too. So balancing all these different parameters, performance, efficiency, cost effectiveness, and scalability is a big challenge. And that is what we have been thankfully focusing on for the last 27 years.
I see. So you talk to a lot of CSPs, cloud service providers, on a daily basis. So you have a very deep understanding of the challenges, which you nicely explained to us right now. So tell us now, like choosing the right hardware, how does that basically help to overcome those challenges?
So this is where many of our cloud service providers, as well as our large enterprise customers, find themselves in. Unfortunately, when you look at today's business, right, it is not a clean cut. Not everything is starting from the fresh slate kind of a thing, clean slate. There are a lot of legacy applications, and then there are next generation, new technology, new applications coming up. How do you kind of find the right infrastructure? How can you find the right home that can house both of these different things together? Because that's with the nature of the business we are in, because you cannot have a siloed environment for the next generation and say, these are my legacy applications are siloed, and that's not a cost-effective way of doing things, right? And that is the biggest challenge many of our service providers find themselves in. How can you provide a common infrastructure that can scale to both of these demanding needs, whether you're talking about the legacy or you're talking about the next generation, which requires low latency, high performing, and high efficient infrastructure. So that is where we are at the crossroads. And it is a really, if you were to ask me, it's a difficult challenge, because oftentimes the requirements from each of these different applications are varied. And fortunately for Supermicro, when we started our life 27 years ago, we always had that mindset. Our founder, Charles Liang, who is our CEO to this day, it has a clear mindset, which is, you know what, let's make it more efficient. Let's increase the utilization of the infrastructure. Let's make it cost effective. And let's do it in a way that is much more greener and much more efficient. That way we are not using up too many resources. We are not consuming more than what we can replenish. So that is the guiding post that we have, the guiding principles. And that's the reason why when you look at today's Supermicro, why we are so successful, like you said, in the top 5, the reason being that we bring in a flexible underlying infrastructure based on building blocks. That way, just like a Lego blocks, you bring in and bring out based upon what kind of, along what dimensions you're kind of structuring your data center on, whether it is a cost effectiveness, whether it is efficiency, performance, or low latency, and all those different dimensions.
I see. So look, here in our room right now, we have a lot of infrastructure decision makers. So as you mentioned, Supermicro is maybe not the biggest one, but it's in the top 5. But please, now you have a chance to give to obvious decision makers your pitch why we should keep Supermicro in mind in the decision making.
So like we discussed, right, what is more important to all these decision makers is how can they meet the demands and the requirements of their customers. Meeting the SLAs of their customers is very important. And that has kind of changed the dynamics over the last couple of years, because the customers are looking at it from a application point of view. So we are the guys who are in the background. We contribute to the story, but we are not the story. That is our motto. And that is what we have been doing all these years. We kind of provide a flexible infrastructure. That way it can scale. And the way we are able to do it is everything is done in-house, right from the design. The design happens right here in the building next to me in San Jose. And then we have regional headquarters in Netherlands as well as in Taipei, Taiwan. So no matter where you are or where your affiliates are in the globe, we pretty much have coverage. We will be able to get to you in a timely fashion. The second thing we asked is how can we really make them to kind of choose Supermicro? I would probably say the one thing that I would say, granted, there are a lot of players when it comes to choosing infrastructure partners. There are a lot of players in the field. And we know that. And we also know that we have to earn each and everyone's trust and business. Towards that goal, what we have done over the years is we try to kind of simplify the decision-making at the infrastructure level. Like I said, with the building block solutions, it's more scalable in the sense they can bring in bits and pieces together and build together a fabric, which is much more resilient and which can kind of withstand the requirements in the demand for scale as well as for performance. So that is a huge advantage. Coming back to your point, right, how is it that we are contributing to the greener environment kind of a thing? So like I said, right from day one, our founder's vision has been to make the infrastructure flexible enough and be kind of high performing with a low footprint. So that is what we have been targeting all these years. And when you look at the latest one that we put forward, which is the resource saving architecture. If you were to look at it, today is a traditional motherboard, right? Every time a new processor technology comes in 6 months or 9 months down the road, pretty much there are 2 choices left for our users. Either upgrade the infrastructure or limp along until the next refresh cycle and start the applications of the performance required. And this is the beautiful thing that we have done working together with Intel. When you look at the motherboard, when all the other components on the motherboard besides the CPU, which is when the next generation comes in, are still in the prime of their age. When you're looking at the I/O, when you're looking at the networking components, you're taking a perfectly good system just because a CPU came in and tossing it and refreshing your infrastructure. It doesn't have to be that way. So that is where we kind of work together with Intel on the resource-saving architecture, where you can kind of bring in the new socket, new CPU, plug it in, and still extend the life of your infrastructure. Because all the other components, when you're looking at the power supplies today, can last 10 to 12 years, especially with our re-engineered power supplies, right? And the I/O components, everything has a useful life. So that is how we have been kind of increasing, providing more value to our customers by kind of reducing their CapEx as well as the OpEx, and more importantly, providing them this flexibility where they can kind of use, that provides a little bit of a design flexibility in the sense that they can bring varying workloads and still meet the requirements of their customers. So that is a huge advantage. So either ways you look at it, it's a win-win. When you kind of deploy Supermicro, you have a longer refresh cycle, and you're not going to bring in a forklift 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, or 1 year down the road, because we have designed the infrastructure from ground up, where your systems are able to work on the peripheries of environment, where, for example, the edge computing is a huge hit nowadays. And oftentimes at the edge, one of the things that our customers complain is that, you know what, I don't have the luxury of a data center, I don't have a good HVAC, and that is the reason why the system should kind of dance around the peripheries of operating temperatures better. And the way we have designed ground up, working together with our partner Intel, that's a huge benefit. So that's how we provide value.
Yeah, earlier today we had the keynote from Intel where we talked about the corporate responsibility and the specific program from Intel Rise, it's called, what Intel is doing in terms of corporate responsibility, which became like my favorite topic over the last 12 months, seeing like what is happening. You know, for us it's easy, we're building schools. So we stand for gender equality and for education and knowledge for everyone. So, but for a hardware vendor like you guys, you know, it must be so much more complicated and obviously so much more complex to run corporate responsibility programs. And in preparation to this fireplace chat here with you, Sim, I was taking a look at the Supermicro website, and I was actually finding a lot of nice material to read for everyone who's interested in that. So thanks for giving us this overview of what you guys are doing, and please keep us informed in the next months to come. I have one more question for you. Like we already said, you guys are big fans of CloudFest. So you came for many, many years. So what aspects of that show are the most appealing for you at Supermicro?
Well, like I said, the kind of the crowd you pull in, a high octane, high energy, entrepreneurs, established firms, all coming under one canopy. Especially, I still remember those days, the first initial days when I came over there, especially when you come there in the night, it's middle of the nowhere, Rust, Germany, right? And suddenly it lights up. It's like a magic kingdom, the vibrancy, the people talking. And that's exactly what we are based on. We started 27 years ago, right? And even to this day, we never consider ourselves as too big. We listen to every customer's requirement, irrespective of big or small, and we try to look at it from a technological challenge perspective, not from a marketing standpoint of it. If I invest so many dollars, will I recoup my investment? That is not the way we think. We look at the technical challenge and say, we can do it, let's do it. So that is the reason why it's very kind of reinvigorating for us when we sit down, talk to these startups, their ideas, and that's a huge part. And like I said, this is one show I look forward to every year.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Sim. Very nice feedback. So we have still 2.5 days to go with that CloudFest 2021 conference. What do you want to accomplish in the next 2.5 days with your team?
So it is twofold, right? One is for this show, along with Intel, we brought in a number of new technologies out there, whether you're a cloud service provider looking at providing low latency, high memory bandwidth applications, or you're looking after the AI, GPU kind of a thing. We have a lot of new platforms that we're introducing. Our the attendees can look at the virtual rooms and kind of relate with many of our sales as well as technical representatives out there. And the second thing, like I mentioned, is we are always in a learning mode. We want to see where we can add value to our customers, be part of their journey, be part of their dreams. So that is another thing we want to continue doing it, continue hearing from our attendees, the partners, as well as the new startups on the new ideas and new problems that they are looking at solving. And like I said, this is a partnership. This is a journey. This is not a destination. And you guys really enable it well.
Perfect. Okay. So please, everyone, visit the virtual booth of Supermicro, talk to the Supermicro team at the tables, at the networking tables, and Sim, I hope to see you physically in Europa Park again next year. Thanks for that interview. Always enjoying it talking to you.
Thanks for the partnership, my friend. Have a good one.